as we all know, sometimes finding even the simplest things can be ridiculously hard.
Mm.
Um, so, even beyond something like finding a gender-affirming doctor or endocrinologist or therapist, finding things like an electrolysis. A lot of people outside the community don't realize that trans women and trans men, both who are planning to have any kind of bottom surgery, need electrolysis. We need gender affirming devices like breast forms and binders and packers and gaffs. And sometimes these things are really hard to find. Even the little things like what's the supermarket in my area
Mm-hmm.
that isn't going to give me shit, you know?
Yeah.
So we're hoping, and you can find lists of different things on the internet. On the internet, most organizations, most resources will have the same 7 or 10 national groups, and they'll have a couple of local groups. Local queer community centers are great resources. They'll have a few of what's local to them. Planned Parenthood has great resources for what they have connections with, but there's nothing bringing it all together, and there's a lot that falls through the cracks. In my own experience, finding an electrolysis, there was a woman in the next town over from me who was retired but would work for trans people out of her home, but nobody knew. One person knew, and then a couple of people knew, and it finally got out there, but nobody knew for years.
Wow.
So we're asking the community to come to us and help us build this map. Tell us every resource that you know. Help us find where all of the affirming and accepting services are. Or the doctors, the therapists, the electrolysis, the clothing stores, and everything, clothing swaps, and all of it. We want all of it. We want to build just a map that everybody can use. And as you mentioned, we are actually starting to put together seminars for the community.
Sure.
We're hoping eventually we'll be able to run them monthly. At the moment, it's a little bit catch as catch can, because it does depend a lot on partnerships that we can put together with other organizations. But we will be offering seminars in the next 3 to 6 months, specifically for survivors, for people who have come through the crucible of violent crime and sexual assault. We will be offering seminars. We've made arrangements with a group that just does this, that just does survivor services for the trans community. And they'll be coming to us and providing seminars a couple times a year. And we're hoping to expand. We're hoping to have legal name change clinics, document clinics. We're hoping to do trans masc, non-binary, and trans femme, gender affirming cosmetics, and hopefully a little bit of maybe 1 or 2 voice clinics. I know I could use that.
Yeah. Same here. Okay.
So yeah,
So
we're really looking to just bring it all together and give the community the access they need to the services and the information and the help that we all need.
okay. So it sounds like a directory, and is this only because you mentioned you help people wherever they have Wi-Fi? So is this gonna be also like international mapping sort of kind?
I would love for us to be able to have an international map. I don't know how practical that is in right now.
Mm-hmm.
We do have one person who's exploring what the requirements would be for us to be registered as a nonprofit in the EU. That may be a very long process. But if anyone outside the US wants to send us resources, we'd be happy to put them on our map and add them to the list of everything else that we're putting together.
Also, because I didn't hear anything on the legal side. Like, are you guys planning to provide some legal consultations or whatnot? Because, for example, let's say we face discriminations or wrongfully terminations, or even name change. Sometimes you need a representative on the legal side.
I would love to be able to do that. Unfortunately, giving legal advice is a very specific professional occupation with very specific requirements for licensing and everything else. And neither me nor anyone else at Patchwork, well, actually, it's not true. We do have one lawyer, but we're not legal professionals and we're not qualified to give legal advice. What we can do is help people find resources I keep saying resources. What we can do is help people find qualified legal counsel where they are. And in order to be able to do that, we need other trans people to tell us where the legal counsel is that is willing to work with our community. We all know the big ones, Lambda Legal, ACLU, the Transgender Law and Education Center. But I know there are a lot of smaller lawyers that are up to the fight of defending trans, non-binary, gender non-conforming, and intersex people where they live. And we're hoping to connect with them and hoping to be able to add their contacts to our list.